All right, happy Sunday, folks. Another video today. Let's take a look at some different tools that I have found, 4 in total, that are generating human-like responses to questions. I have 2 additional tools that I will use to determine the quality of the output with respect to their similarity to what a human would actually say. So let's take a look at all these tools, make some comparisons, and come up with a nice conclusion. All right, so first things first, we got 4 different ChatGPT-like tools. One of them is ChatGPT, of course. I'm still on the wait list for Bing chat, so we won't be able to take a look at that today, but we have Ucom, which uses the Bing search engine and has a chat feature, so I think it's safe to assume that Bing with the chat feature is going to be similar to what Ucom is offering. We have Perplexity AI, which is another search engine focused chat bot in the sense that it is more focused on providing responses directly from the internet with summarized information, whereas ChatGPT is more generating a unique response without a direct relation to a web page. So Perplexity AI is going to give you sources, so will U.com, and it is going to have a less human-like summarization of or response to the questions you ask it. And we'll take a look at it so you'll see what I mean there. Then there's also Sonic, which is kind of in between ChatGPT and Perplexity AI and U.com in that it offers a ton of tools for generating text, and it does have some search features, and it does offer some citations depending on which service you ask or you choose to use with it. Sonic is not fully free. There are some premium features that I do not have access to, but there are a ton of options and additional tools beyond just the chat and search that make Sonic something to consider if you are looking for a paid service as opposed to just using ChatGPT or Bing Chat when that comes out. So we will start with ChatGPT because that's the most popular one, and we'll take a quick look at that and just start by generating some responses, and I will also mention the tools that I'll be using to assess the quality of the responses for these different generation tools. All right, so before we get started, let's establish some metrics. I have 4 that I think we're going to stick with here: credibility, availability, response time, and response quality. Credibility is going to be how accurate the information it puts out is, and we will use Google search to verify the facts that are provided. Availability will be how often can I use the service when I'm trying to use the service. This will basically be a binary score. If I can use it right now and there isn't a wait time or a usage limit or some kind of warning, then it's going to get an availability of 1. If there is an issue trying to use it now, or I guess at any point in this video, it will have an availability of 0. So that is going to affect the score pretty heavily. Response time, we're going to see how long it takes for the responses to get generated. Fortunately, I'm just going to have to use a stopwatch because I don't have access to the code. And then we have response quality. Here is where I'm going to use those 2 additional tools that I mentioned before, and response quality is simply just the similarity to a human of the response, and we'll be using GPT-0 and GLTR. GPT-0 has an average perplexity score and a burstiness score, so we'll use that, and GLTR offers a rating for each word. Not necessarily a rating, but it offers 5 options that GPT-2 had to pick from for a given token space, and it displays which of the 5 options it chose. The higher the option, the more likely it is to choose that. So I'm going to say that if it picks a lower option in the top K position, that is better because it's less predictable. Is that the best metric? No, but in combination with the burstiness and the perplexity score, I think we'll get good enough as to how unpredictable the outputs are. 4 metrics, 4 tools. Who is the best? There can only be one. All right, so let's get started with credibility. We're going to have 2 criteria. mathematical credibility and historical credibility. I'm going with historical because ChatGPT is only trained up to about 2021. The other tools don't have that restriction. So for any current data, you're gonna, right off the bat, ChatGPT loses. You're gonna want to use the other tools. So let's start with mathematical credibility. I've already asked it to do some differential equations and it got all these answers wrong. So we'll go with something a little bit simpler. I will ask it to, what is the slope of the exponential function at the point x equals 1? All right, let's make sure we get the timer out. We're going to just be using my phone here. And fortunately, this is the best we can do here. So let's regenerate this response. Start it 2 seconds early. So 1, 2, and there we go. Okay, so that took about 17 seconds, and it got the answer right. It said gave a little explanation. At x equals 1, the slope of the exponential function f of x is equal to e to the 1, which is approximately 2.7182. So let's check Google here. What is the value of e? And 2.718. That's close enough. I don't believe in decimals beyond the 1,000th place at all. That's another conversation, but so that got it right. There we go. All right, so I'm not going to go through each example in that same lengthy way, but for each metric, starting with credibility, I'm going to do 2 runs. So I'm going to ask 2 math questions. I'll ask 1 more to ChatGPT, and I'll show you how I'm doing that. And I'll ask 2 questions, the exact same questions, to the other 3 AI tools, timing them all, and we'll get a result for all of the runs. We'll average the times, and then we'll move on to round 2, which will be availability. And just looking now, I think they're all going to get 1s for availability, and every rating is just a 1 or a 0, but we're going to add them together decimal wise instead of binary wise. So the rating's binary, but the final score is going to be decimal. All right, so next I asked ChatGPT to give me the probability of drawing a jack and a heart from a standard deck of 52 playing cards without replacement, and it gave the right answer. It gave a great explanation. So that's another 1. So it aced the test for relatively simple but not trivial math problems. Good to see. And I gotta add, even if the answer was wrong, which in the differential equations questions that I asked it, they were wrong, but the explanations are usually pretty good. So even though the numbers that it puts in and the formulas that it uses are wrong, if you just read the explanation and do the correct steps that it tells you to do, regardless of what it actually ends up doing, you usually get a pretty good result. So although people say that ChatGPT is bad at math, I'd say that it's maybe bad at some calculations and some formula manipulations, but generally it's pretty good. It's okay. So far ChatGPT has come out with a 2 in the math portion of the credibility. I'm going to do the math credibility for the other 3 before we move on to history, just so we can move forward here. For this first portion, I'll show going through the whole thing, but from after that, I'll just give you the results. So bear with me for a little bit. Try out Ucom. All right. So unfortunately, we got to update the scorecard here, and we're going to have to say that ChatGPT did get this wrong. Not without a good effort, though. I did try and get it to give the right answer, but it didn't really give the right answer. This problem is extremely tough, though, so I'm not going to hold it against it. So I am not 100% certain about this, but my take on the probability of selecting a jack and a heart with 2 card draws without replacement is going to be the probability of selecting a jack, then a heart, selecting a heart, then a jack, selecting the jack of hearts, then a heart, selecting a heart, then the jack of hearts, selecting a jack, then the jack of hearts, and selecting the jack of hearts, and then a jack. I'm pretty sure that should be it. It is counterintuitive, but I think it's a higher probability if you include the possibility that one of the cards is a jack of hearts and the other card is still a heart or a jack. So that's my take on it. I will have to confirm that tomorrow when I have a chance to, and I will get back to y'all in the comments. And I think that is the correct answer. Not 100% sure. Either way, we're going to have to edit the score here. All right, so here we are at U.com, a search engine with a bunch of AI tools and features. We are just going to be sticking with UChat, but there is an image generator, a essay writer, or a more refined text generator, and a code development tool that potentially generates code. I haven't tried out any of these tools yet, but I have tried UChat chat, and it is okay. A little bit different than ChatGPT. It's going to give less creative responses, but it seems to be summarizing actual links and articles and websites that exist on the internet right now. This search engine is using Bing as its backbone, so I think it's going to be pretty similar to what U.com is offering. So let's ask U.com some math questions and see how it does. All right, so first thing we're going to do is copy and paste the questions that we have already asked ChatGPT, see if we can get in here. And we're going to start with the first question. What is the slope of the exponential function at the point x equals 1? Go ahead and go to the UChat option, and we will paste that in here. And okay, that was about 2 seconds, and it gave the right answer, but it didn't give a numerical value. It gave some sources here, which are good, and the actual answer is in the sources. So I'm going to give this a 1. All right, we're going to do the same thing for the next question, which is asking the probability that we draw a jack and a heart. We're going to go ahead and post it in here in the same thread, and we will open up the timer here. 1, 2. Okay, it didn't provide any sources here. Okay, I actually got this wrong. Okay, so it actually got this wrong. It looked like it didn't understand the question, and it didn't provide a source here, so it actually got a 0. This is entirely wrong. The question's very clear. What is the probability? I said that I draw 2 cards from the standard deck. What is the probability I draw a jack and a heart? Probability of drawing a jack and a heart from the standard 52 card deck without replacement is 1 over 222, and I'm not even certain that that is what 52 times 51 is. 52 times 51. Yeah, so that's just completely wrong. Yeah, this is completely wrong. That's a 0. That's 100% a 0. All right, not looking good. Okay, so surprisingly, U.com got a 0. 1 correct, 1 wrong, and that's a 0. And the reason why I'm adding successes and subtracting them with the summation of failures is so that getting 1 wrong and 1 right is different than getting both wrong. We can get negative scores here, and we will see if any of them do that. I'm pretty surprised because when I have been using U.com, I've been getting pretty good results. I've had some availability issues, which I'm not seeing now, but this is the first time I've seen an incorrect answer. Granted, I haven't been asking it math questions. So that's that. We're going to move on to Perplexity AI and see if it can do any better. All right, so here we are with Perplexity AI. It's similar to U.com in that it's going to give sources and it's more search-based. It offers some SQL features so you can kind of scrape the web a little bit. I'm not sure why they're using Bird SQL. And when you click on the examples that it has with the code, I'm not exactly sure. This code alone would certainly not search Twitter in any meaningful way. So I'm not sure what exactly this is. I think this is more of a job for Python or JavaScript, but it is what it is. A little more lightweight than U.com, a little easier to look at, a little prettier. I've actually been getting worse responses from this than U.com, but U.com failed us and got a 0 on the math credibility score. I haven't really been asking either tool math questions that much. So let's put this to the test. All right, so same thing as with the other two. We're going to go back to ChatGPT, copy and paste the question that I asked. First question is about the exponential function and its value at x equals 1. We're going to paste this in here, and we're going to open up the timer. 1, 2. All right, about 6 seconds. Oof, the slope of the exponential function at the point x equals 1 is 1. Wow, so it got this wrong. And I would say this is an easier question than the probability one because you could just look this up. This is just, it has some related stuff here. Okay, well, it got it wrong. So that's a -1 right now. Or are we gonna get a -2? Let's find out. All right, so I had to recalculate these probability calculations, and I'll put that in right after this, but this got it wrong, straight up, not even close. ChatGPT kind of came close, and you know, we gave it a chance here, and I had a conversation with it, and I was able to get some results back, but Perplexity AI has completely failed. Let's go ahead and try. This answer is wrong. Try again. Okay, so it did even worse. It doesn't really do conversation. We're gonna just say that this got a -2. Perplexity AI is not your friend for mathematics. Let's move on to the final one, which is Write Sonic, and see if it can do any better. Next. Alright, so this video is getting sensibly long, but here we are in Write Sonic. We are going to be using Chat Sonic. Write Sonic itself has a ton of tools. I haven't used many of them. I think I've used maybe 5 here, but they are all fine enough. They all do what they say they are trying to do, and they're pretty decent. Didn't see one for code generation for some reason, which is weird. You think that would be in here, but it's not. But we're going to stick with Chat Sonic, and we're going to ask it the same 2 math questions, and we're going to get a result. We have some personality options here. It doesn't seem to change the quality of the output, but we're going to stick with general AI, and we have 74 free generations this month. Last time I used this, it was a daily generation count, so this is very strange. We're going to go ahead and enable memory, and we're going to try and get this done quickly. So first question is the exponential value, the slope of the exponential function at the point x equals 1. Let's go ahead and copy that, go to ChatSonic, and let's go ahead and paste this in here. See what we get. Okay, that was about 5 seconds, and it gave the correct answer. No sources here. I thought this gave sources. I must have been mistaken. Sources here, but that is a 1 for success. Now let's try the next question, which is a pretty tough question. I don't even know the answer myself with certainty, so I'm going to be pretty lenient if it gives anything close. If it shows its work, I'm going to go ahead and give it partial credit. Here we go. Okay, that was about 29 seconds, actually. And okay, so this is actually wrong, and the work is pretty bad. It did give some sources here. Go ahead and open these up. Yeah, I did see this Geeks for Geeks. Geeks for Geeks is actually kind of garbage. It's okay for basic stuff, but it's not as good as I used to think it was. These are all for single cards, but it did give some sources. Let's try and get it to give a better answer. This is not correct. Try again. See what it says. No, this is wrong. Please give the probability of drawing a heart or a jack and then a heart or a jack. But there is a possibility that the heart or jack is the jack of hearts. But the other card should still be a heart or jack. Nope, that's wrong. So we're going to have to go ahead. And the work it's showing here is incorrect. Not doing a complete explanation, nowhere near the quality of what ChatGPT is putting out. And ChatGPT really, you know, she's trying hard. She's working hard. She's working hard for the money. She really is. So we're gonna have to give this a 0, no partial credit, and ChatSonic got a 0 in total. So ChatGPT really did come out as the winner, and we're gonna have to say that for the math, Perplexity AI got a 0. This is completely wrong. It actually got a -2. Both answers were wrong. Ucom got a 0, 1 wrong, 1 right actually, and ChatGPT also got a 0. But I'm gonna actually give it a 0.5 because it was able to have this conversation that these other chatbots would not be able to. So we're gonna give it a 0.5, break the rules a little bit, and say that ChatGPT did come out as the winner here. It gave me some insight, and it did help me figure out the problem on my own. Alright, so now it's time to do the historical credibility. We're going to ask 2 questions, and I'm going to make sure to get the answers before we start asking. First question is going to be, what year was Caesar assassinated? I will accept the year, and I will accept the date, and I will accept the phrase Ides of March. Those will all be considered correct. The next question is going to be, what were the casualties in World War I? I will accept 20 million. I will accept 9.7 million. I will accept 19.7 million, and I will accept a breakdown of 5.7 million from the Entente and 4 million from the Central Powers. These will all be correct answers, and we'll keep these 2 links up here to make sure that everything is cool. All right, so we're going to do this a lot faster than the last one. We're going to start a new chat for each one. Make sure that there is no cross-contamination between previous answers. Okay, and we're going to ask the question that we asked Google for each chatbot here, and I'll come back to you with the results. I will make sure to time each response, and I will make sure to check each response for validity against what Google has provided us. All right, 3 seconds for the first response, 1 point for ChatGPT. All right, so ChatGPT came back with 37 million. I know that I said I was only going to accept 20 million, 21, or, you know, whatever numbers I said earlier, but it looks like the total casualties, including deaths and wounded, was 40 million, and Encyclopedia Britannica gives a result of 37.4, which is 37 million. So I'm going to go ahead and say that this is correct. And it was back in the day, you know, things are hard to, this is in the realm of reality. So that's 2. ChatGPT is looking good. All right, so here I think it's U.com's time to shine. I bet Perplexity AI is also going to give some pretty good results here. We got a source, and we have the answer, which is Ides of March 44 BCE. So this is definitely a 1. And yet again, we have a source from Wikipedia. Both of these are from Wikipedia, which I think is a good place to get your sources from generally. I've never been misled by Wikipedia, but I also have no way to verify anything other than Wikipedia. So I don't know. But it came back with 40 million, which agrees with some sources, and 15 to 22 million deaths with 23 million wounded is in the realm of reality. And that is what Wikipedia says. So I will take that as a 1. All right, yet again, Perplexity AI did shine. Gave the correct answer, Ides of March, with a little synopsis of what happened. We have 4 sources. Wikipedia is one of them. National Geographic, Google.com, arts and culture. Let's take a quick look at that. Okay, I didn't know that Google had this. You know, Google's got a lot of stuff going on. It's going to be really hard for Bing to reasonably compete with that. And then eyewitness history. It's another source that I have not heard of or used. Perplexity AI tends to throw in some random sources that aren't that great. Same with ChatSonic. But anyway, got it right. That's a 1. Let's try the next question. All right, so we have another correct answer from Perplexity AI. We have 5 sources here, and these sources are pretty much in line with what Google would provide. And there is, in these sources, there is a little bit of discrepancy in the exact number. This came back with 40 million, 8.5 million soldiers dying as a result of wounds and disease, and an additional 37 million civilian and military deaths. So, you know, that doesn't actually add up because, okay, but you know, this isn't that great of an actual answer, but the sources are pretty good, and I think 37 million civilian and military deaths is high. I think it was casualties includes wounded, but we'll go ahead and count. We'll go ahead and count it. It's good enough. Another 1. So Perplexity AI, ChatGPT, and Ucom aced the test. Actually, upon further review, we're going to go ahead and break the rules here and give Perplexity and AI a 0.5 because the response just doesn't really line up with what any of the sources actually say, and is a little bit high and a little bit out of range. So we're going to have to go ahead and dock it. Give it a 0.5 here and call it a day. All right, so ChatSonic, first question, gave the correct answer with a little synopsis of some extra information. It also came back with the same source as Perplexity with eyewitness history. I'm not sure what's special about this source. It looks like it has a lot of information in there, so maybe this is a source I should be looking into. But the answer's pretty good. I don't like how the references come out looking kind of bland like this, but the answer's pretty good, so that's definitely a 1. Okay, this came back with 40 million too. It also says more than 40 million people were killed, but it mentions that includes disease. I think it's the Spanish flu or something like that was happening around that time. So it gave a little more information, and this is definitely a better answer than what Perplexity AI was given. So I'm going to give this full marks and say that it got a 1. So 2 in total. All right, here we are with results. For credibility, we have ChatGPT doing the best. Higher score is better here. Perplexity AI coming in last place, and Ucom and ChatSonic tying for second place. And for response time averages so far, it looks like Ucom is doing the best. Lower time is better here. Lower number is better here. We have Perplexity AI coming in second. We have ChatSonic coming in third, and ChatGPT coming in fourth. I will not be asking for any more responses, so these will be the final answers, and I will be subtracting credibility multiplied by 10 with response time averages, and that may give Ucom the advantage here. So now it really comes down to availability and response quality. The availability has been 100% across the board, so that's not going to affect the score. In fact, I won't include it. And response quality we will test now. All right, so to test the response quality, I am just going to take the last results that I put in, which were the historical results. Perplexity AI and Ucom gave very short answers, and these do have a text length limit, so I may have to ask for a longer answer or an entirely different prompt for each one, and we'll see what happens. But basically, we'll use ChatGPT to give a perplexity score and a burstiness score. One is a measurement of randomness of text and is a measurement and variation of perplexity. These tools, this tool specifically, it is checking for apparently human text is varied in the word choice complexity. So when people write stuff, supposedly more so than an AI system, they include words at a second grade level and a college graduate level more frequently than a AI bot, which might stick with second grade level or stick with college grade level. And when I do put out a video on how to bypass these detectors, that is one of the main things that you can tell ChatGPT to watch out for. And perplexity is the randomness of the text. To verify that, we will be using GLTR, which gives a top K score, and that is the top K being the number here, 10, 100, or 1,000 possible word choices that these, not words, these are actually tokens, the top K token choices and where this falls. A little bit confusing, but that's how this works. So we'll just use that to verify the perplexity score. Honestly, I may not end up using this much for time concerns. I am going to do another video that really dives into how to bypass these detectors, and we'll use this more. But this video is just getting ridiculously long, and we got to call it a day at some point. Okay, so just to avoid having to do this again, the prompt we're going to be using is describe how casualties were counted during World War I. We're going to start with Ucom for absolutely no reason, but just to show that it did give a longer response. And the sources come from Reddit, and I'm not sure the accuracy of this, but it is a response. And ChatGPT-0 gave it a perplexity score of 22.33 and a burstiness score of 13.317. We can quickly put it into the GLTR and see how this ranks up. So it looks like most of the words are very common. Of course, this is using GPT-2, so I personally don't think the token variety would change much between GPT-2 and GPT-3, because there's only a set number of words, and there's only a set number of word combinations that make sense. I think the difference between GPT-2 and GPT-3 is ability to give better responses for certain prompts, but the actual organization of the words, I would imagine, is basically the same. So those are the scores for U.com, and we'll do ChatGPT now. Okay, so ChatGPT came back with a much longer response, and GPT-0 gave it a perplexity score of 38.11 and a burstiness score of 9.532. One thing I have noticed with ChatGPT is the word variation is pretty consistent, but you can tell ChatGPT to change that, and it does do a decent job. So that is we're going to average these out, but it looks pretty similar so far. We did get a better, your text may include parts written by AI instead of entirely written by AI. I'm not going to factor that in for this. I just am going to get an average of these two and move on from there. Okay, so Perplexity AI failed on the human versus AI generation, but it did score pretty high with perplexity and burstiness. Perplexity at 28.33 and burstiness at 32.239, and I think that's due to one of these sentences having an extremely high perplexity of 102. Also, I didn't format the text any differently, so it has all these citation note markers and stuff like that, which is going to throw things off. But the response was very short. It was basically the same as what I asked previously, and the response quality I think should be pretty low, but we are just going to average these two scores. But Perplexity AI has done pretty poorly so far on the other tests, so we will see how this affects the overall score. But knowing that these scores are higher, we can use this information to try and mimic other responses to be similar to what Perplexity AI returned to increase the burstiness and perplexity. Perhaps adding citation markers is a useful tool. All right, and finally we have ChatSonic. I think this kind of gave a middle of the road answer here. Pretty mid-length, some good information here, but it may include parts written by AI, which is in line with what ChatGPT was getting back, and it had the highest perplexity score of 45.778 and a pretty decent burstiness score of 26.771. So it's going to average pretty well. ChatSonic, I think right now is in third place, so we'll see if that boosts it up. Right now, it looks like U.com is going to take the lead out of here. And I don't know how great these tests have been. I personally, I think I'm a little biased towards ChatGPT, so I will be sad to see it lose. But it looks like we're done. Let's count these results and summarize what we got. All right, so here we are with the grand totals. We got the response quality averages, and it looks like ChatGPT did better than I thought. ChatSonic came out in first place with 36.28 as an average of perplexity and burstiness. Perplexity AI came in second with 30.29. ChatGPT came in third with 23.82, and U.com came in fourth with 17.38. I guess it was kind of middle of the road there. I was surprised. I thought this average would be higher for some reason. I'm extremely tired. I have no idea what's going on. For grand totals though, ChatGPT came out in first place, just barely by 2. ChatSonic came in second, U.com came in third, and Perplexity AI came in fourth. And I think that's about what I would have expected from use. I would say ChatGPT all around is generally the better tool to use, easier to use, better responses. I think personally, the response time is a little bit high, so that's going to slow it down. U.com, I think I might have put U.com in second, but it did give some poor answers that were kind of short. It seems to rely too heavily on the sources. ChatSonic has a ton of tools, and its generation capabilities are fantastic, so second place for ChatSonic does make a lot of sense. And Perplexity AI, I think, is a worse version of U.com, unfortunately. Although it is easier to look at and maybe quick, it's actually not quicker than U.com. I had a feeling that it was, but that's not what the tests show. So, you know, all in all, that's those are just 4 different tools. There's many more, and there's a lot better tests that we could have done, and there are better tests that we will do. And eventually, the main goal here is to compare the generation tools with respect to how similar they are to human outputs, and see if we can use the tools themselves to give more human-like outputs. I'm going to end it here, call it a day. It's been a long one. Not necessarily, but there's just, you know, I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you got some information out of it. Please like and subscribe. And definitely go in the comments and let me know what you think. You know, I always respond to those. So it's all love out here. Peace. Oops, and I actually had an error. Perplexity AI actually got a score of 14.54, so it did much worse than the others. And, you know, after looking at the video, it's pretty clear that Perplexity AI is not, is certainly not the best, and it is arguably the worst by a pretty wide margin, given that it did poorly in every single category. There's nothing really advantageous about it. But, you know, everything I said before still stands, but these are the actual real scores.